Jake Sullivan sat in his chair and stared at the computer screen. The numbers on the display made his stomach feel sick. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The numbers were still there. For 15 years, Jake had worked at Luna Station. The giant listening post sat on the dark side of Earth's moon, hidden from view. Most people on Earth did not know it existed. Jake and his team spent their days listening to radio signals from deep space. They were looking for signs of alien life. 3 years ago, they found what they were looking for. The discovery changed everything. Dr. Lisa Morgan walked into the control room. She carried a cup of coffee and looked as tired as Jake felt. Lisa was the best language expert on the station. She could decode alien messages faster than anyone else. "The new transmission just came in," Jake said. He pointed at his screen. "It's from the same source as last week." Lisa sat down at her workstation and pulled up the alien message. Strange symbols filled her screen. She had seen these symbols many times before. They belonged to something called the Galactic Council. "What do they say this time?" Jake asked. Lisa worked quietly for several minutes. Her fingers moved across the keyboard as she ran the alien text through her translation program. The computer slowly turned the alien words into English. "It's another survey report," Lisa said. Her voice was quiet and worried. "They're talking about Earth again." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "What are they saying?" Lisa read from her screen. "Species classification, primitive bipeds. Technology level, basic. Threat assessment, none. Recommended action, continue monitoring for resource extraction phase." The words hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. He had heard similar reports before, but they never got easier to read. The two aliens saw humans as nothing more than animals. They planned to strip Earth of its resources and probably kill everyone in the process. "There's more," Lisa said. She looked pale. "They moved up the timeline." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The original plan called for resource extraction in 50 years. This new message says they want to start in 5 years. Jake stood up so fast his chair rolled backward. 5 years? That's not enough time. For the past 3 years, Earth had been preparing in secret. Hidden factories in the asteroid belt built warships. Scientists worked day and night to understand alien technology. Soldiers trained for battles in space. But everyone thought they had 50 years to get ready. Captain Ben Torres entered the control room. He was Jake's military contact and one of the few people who knew the full truth about Earth's situation. Ben looked serious, which usually meant bad news. "I just got word from Admiral Phillips," Ben said. "The shipyards finished another cruiser last week. That brings our total to 23 ships." "That's good news," Jake said. "But we just learned we have a lot less time than we thought." Ben's face grew dark as Jake explained the new alien message. When Jake finished talking, Ben was quiet for a long moment. 23 ships won't be enough," Ben finally said. "The Galactic Council has thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands." "We knew this day would come," Jake said. "The question is, what do we do now?" Lisa was still working at her computer. She had pulled up old alien messages and was comparing them to the new one. "There's something else in this transmission," she said. "Something I missed before." Both men walked over to Lisa's workstation. She pointed at a section of alien text on her screen. "This part talks about a survey fleet," Lisa said. "According to this message, they're sending ships to Earth soon. Not in 5 years. Soon." Jake felt cold despite the warm air in the control room. "How soon?" Lisa typed commands into her computer. More alien text appeared on the screen. She worked for several minutes, double-checking her translation. "If I'm reading this correctly," Lisa said slowly, "the survey fleet left their base 6 months ago." Ben grabbed Lisa's shoulder. "How long does it take their ships to reach Earth?" Lisa pulled up another file on her computer. It contained information about alien ship speeds that Earth's spies had gathered over the years. "Their fastest ships can cross the galaxy in about a year," Lisa said. "But survey fleets travel slower because they carry more equipment." "So 18 months?" Jake asked. "That means they could be here in 12 months," Lisa said. maybe less. The three humans stood in silence. Jake looked at the alien message on Lisa's screen. For 15 years, Earth had listened to alien radio, signals in secret. They learned about the Galactic Council and their cruel plans. They discovered that humans were not alone in the universe, but they also learned that the other species in the galaxy saw Earth as nothing more than a source of raw materials. Now the aliens were coming. Not in 50 years or even 5 years. They would arrive in less than 12 months. "We need to contact Admiral Phillips immediately," Ben said. "She needs to know about this." Jake nodded. "What about the survey fleet? What exactly are they coming here to do?" Lisa looked at her screen again. "According to this message, they want to study human biology and test our defenses. They're also supposed to collect specimens." "Specimens?" Jake asked. "Humans," Lisa said, quietly. "They want to take some of us back with them." Jake felt anger building in his chest. The aliens thought they could just show up at Earth and take whatever they wanted. They thought humans were too primitive to fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Ben, send a message to Admiral Phillips," Jake said. "Tell her the timeline just changed. Tell her we need to accelerate all our preparations." "What? About the survey fleet?" Ben asked. Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien ships were racing toward Earth. The aliens expected to find a defenseless world full of primitive creatures. Instead, they would find humans ready to fight. "Let them come," Jake said. "It's time they learned that Earth has been listening, and we're not as helpless as they think." General Ryan Clark walked through the underground tunnel that connected the command centers. The tunnel was 3 miles long and buried 200 feet below the surface of Colorado. Most people in the world did not know this place existed. 6 months had passed since Jake Sullivan discovered the alien survey fleet was coming to Earth early. 6 months of frantic preparation and sleepless nights. Ryan had spent those months turning Earth into something the aliens would never expect. The elevator took Ryan down another 100 feet. The doors opened to reveal a massive underground chamber. Hundreds of people worked at computer stations and control panels. Giant screens on the walls showed star maps and ship positions. This was the heart of Operation Silent Thunder. "General Clark, we have an update from the asteroid belt," said Colonel Steve Martinez. Steve was one of Ryan's best officers and the leader of Earth's new stealth squadron. "What's the news?" Ryan asked. "Shipyard 7 just finished construction of 3 more destroyers," Steve said. "That brings our total fleet to 51 ships." Ryan nodded. 51 ships was better than the 23 they had 6 months ago, but it still might not be enough. The aliens had been building their fleet for thousands of years. Dr. Amy Foster approached the 2 officers. Amy ran the Prometheus project, which was developing ways to make human soldiers stronger and faster. She looked excited about something. "General, we just completed the first round of enhancements on the volunteer test group," Amy said. "The results are incredible." "Show me," Ryan said. Amy led them to another section of the underground base. Through a thick glass window, Ryan could see a large training room. Inside the room, a woman was lifting weights that should have been impossible for any human to move. "That's Lieutenant Kelly Brooks," Amy explained. 3 weeks ago, she could bench press 200 pounds. Now she can lift over 800 pounds. Ryan watched as Kelly finished her workout and moved to another section of the training room. She began running on a treadmill at speeds that would break Olympic records. "The genetic modifications work better than we hoped," Amy said. "Enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes, better healing, and resistance to disease. The volunteers can survive in space longer and handle higher G-forces than normal humans." "Any side effects?" Ryan asked. "Some mild discomfort during the first few days," Amy said. "But all volunteers report feeling better than ever once the change is complete." Steve Martinez watched Kelly through the window. "How many people have been enhanced so far?" "We've completed modifications on 50 volunteers," Amy said. "Another 100 are scheduled for next week." Ryan was impressed but worried. 50 enhanced soldiers won't win a war against the entire Galactic Council. "That's not all we've been working on," Amy said with a smile. "Follow me." She led them deeper into the base to a restricted area Ryan had never seen before. They passed through multiple security checkpoints before reaching a laboratory filled with strange equipment. "What is this?" Ryan asked. "We call it the Integration Lab," Amy said. "We're not just enhancing human bodies. We're also connecting human minds directly to our computer systems." She pointed to a chair surrounded by cables and sensors. "Volunteers sit in that chair, and we create a link between their brain and our ship control systems. They can pilot spacecraft using only their thoughts." Ryan stared at the equipment. "Does it work?" "Better than we ever imagined," Amy said. "A human pilot connected to one of our ships can react 10 times faster than any alien pilot. The connection allows perfect coordination between the pilot and the ship's systems." Steve Martinez looked interested. "Have you tested this in actual spacecraft?" "Last week, Lieutenant Tony Garcia used the connection to pilot a fighter through an asteroid field at maximum speed," Amy said. "He completed maneuvers that should have been impossible." Ryan was starting to feel more hopeful about Earth's chances. Enhanced soldiers and pilots would help, but they needed more advantages. "General Clark, please report to the communication center," a voice said over the base's speaker system. Ryan left Amy and Steve and walked to the communication center. The room was filled with radio equipment and computers that could talk to every human facility in space. Director Nina Grant was waiting for him. Nina ran Earth's new diplomatic efforts. She was preparing for the day when humans would have to talk to aliens face to face. "We just received a message from Lieutenant Colonel Martinez's reconnaissance team," Nina said. "They successfully infiltrated the alien monitoring station near Jupiter." Ryan felt his heart beat faster. Steve's twin brother Mike led a team of enhanced soldiers on secret missions in space. Their job was to gather information about alien technology and capabilities. "What did they find?" Ryan asked. Nina pulled up a file on her computer. "The monitoring station has been watching Earth for over 20 years. The aliens have detailed information about our cities, military bases, and population centers." "That's not good news," Ryan said. "There's more," Nina continued. "The station's computers contained files about other species the Galactic Council has conquered. Ryan, they've been doing this for centuries. Thousands of worlds have been stripped of resources. Billions of people have been killed or enslaved." Ryan felt sick. He had known the aliens were dangerous, but hearing the full scale of their crimes was overwhelming. "Did Mike's team find anything useful?" Ryan asked. "Yes," Nina said. She opened another file. "The aliens have been lying to the Galactic Council about Earth's defenses. The monitoring station has been sending false reports saying humans are completely helpless. Why would they do that? We think some of the aliens running the station want to keep Earth as their personal discovery," Nina explained. "If the Council knew Earth had any technology at all, they would send a larger force." Ryan thought about this information. "So the survey fleet coming to Earth thinks we have no defenses at all?" "That's correct," Nina said. "They're expecting to find primitive humans with no space travel and no weapons." For the first time in months, Ryan smiled. "Then we have the element of surprise," Nina nodded. "There's one more thing. Mike's team found evidence that other species are fighting back against the Council. Small resistance groups on dozens of worlds. Most of them have been crushed, but some are still active." "Are any of them successful?" Ryan asked. "A few. There's a species called the Keth who have been hiding in asteroid fields for decades. Another group called the Yilan have been raiding Council supply lines. But they're all small and scattered." Ryan looked at the star map on the wall. Red dots marked the locations of known alien bases. Blue dots showed human facilities. The red dots outnumbered the blue ones by thousands to one. But maybe the numbers didn't tell the whole story. Maybe other species would help if they knew humans were fighting back. "Nina, I want you to prepare a message," Ryan said. "When the alien survey fleet arrives, we're going to do more than just defend Earth. We're going to announce to the galaxy that humans refuse to be victims." "What kind of message?" Nina asked. Ryan looked at the red dots on the star map again. Each one represented years of alien oppression and cruelty. But now Earth was ready to fight back. A message that will wake up every enslaved species in the galaxy, Ryan said. It's time to show the Galactic Council that their victims are not as helpless as they think. Ambassador John Hayes stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance and watched the alien ships approach. 12 massive vessels moved slowly through space toward Earth's outer defense line. They looked nothing like human ships. The alien vessels were smooth and curved like giant metal fish swimming through the darkness. John had never expected to be Earth's first ambassador to aliens. 6 months ago, he was a retired diplomat living quietly in Washington. Now he wore the uniform of Earth's new diplomatic corps and carried the hopes of his entire species. Captain Alex Turner stood beside John at the bridge windows. Alex was young for a starship captain, but she was one of Earth's best pilots. The Defiance was humanity's most advanced ship, built with technology stolen from alien monitoring stations. "They're slowing down," Alex said. "Looks like they want to talk." John nodded. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for. The alien survey fleet had finally arrived at the edge of the solar system. They expected to find a defenseless world full of primitive creatures. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Chief Bell, are the quantum communicators ready?" Alex asked. Chief Engineer Monica Bell looked up from her control station. Monica had designed Earth's new communication system using alien technology. It could send messages instantly across the entire galaxy. "All systems ready, Captain," Monica said. "We can broadcast to every inhabited system in known space." John took a deep breath. In a few minutes, he would speak the first words ever exchanged between humans and aliens. But more importantly, he would send a message to every enslaved species in the galaxy. "Incoming transmission from the alien fleet," said the communication officer. "Put it on screen," Alex ordered. The main display showed the face of an alien creature. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and no hair. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated its words into English. "Primitive species of the third planet," the alien said. "I am High Arbiter Zethkri of the Galactic Council. We have come to conduct a survey of your world and its resources. You will surrender all military vessels and prepare for specimen collection." John stepped forward. "High Arbiter Zethkri, I am Ambassador John Hayes representing the people of Earth and the United Nations. We welcome you to our solar system." The alien looked confused. "You speak our language? This was not in our survey reports." "Your survey reports contain many errors," John said calmly. "We have been monitoring your communications for 15 years. We know about the Galactic Council. We know about your plans for resource extraction. And we know about the thousands of species you have enslaved." Zethkri's large eyes grew even larger. "Impossible. Our monitoring stations reported that your species has no space travel capability. Your monitoring stations have been feeding you false information," John said. "Perhaps you should ask yourself why." Alex smiled as she watched the confusion on the alien's face. Earth's intelligence teams had discovered that the aliens running the monitoring stations had been lying to the Council for years. They wanted to keep Earth as their personal discovery. "This changes nothing," Zethkri said, trying to sound confident. "You are still a primitive species. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." John had been waiting for this moment. "Hi, Arbiter. Before we continue this conversation, there is something we would like to share with the galaxy." "What do you mean?" Zethkri asked. John nodded to Monica Bell. She activated the quantum communication system. In seconds, John's words would reach every inhabited world in known space. "Citizens of the galaxy," John began, his voice carrying across thousands of light years. "I am Ambassador John Hayes of Earth representing the human species. For too long, the Galactic Council has ruled through fear and oppression. They have conquered peaceful worlds, enslaved entire species, and stolen the resources of countless civilizations. On the alien ship, Zethkri was frantically trying to jam the transmission, but Monica's equipment was too advanced. The message continued to broadcast across the galaxy. Today, humanity says no more." John continued. "We refuse to be victims. We refuse to surrender our freedom. And we call upon every enslaved species in the galaxy to stand with us and fight for liberation." Alex watched her tactical display as the alien ships tried to move closer to Earth's defense line. Alien vessels are attempting to advance, she reported. Show them our defenses, John said. Alex pressed a button on her command chair. Across the solar system, hidden defense platforms revealed themselves. Hundreds of weapon emplacements emerged from asteroids and space stations. Fighter squadrons launched from concealed bases. The alien fleet stopped moving. On the main screen, Zethkri looked terrified. As you can see, John said, Earth is not as defenseless as your reports claimed. We have been preparing for this day for years. John's message continued to broadcast across the galaxy. We have evidence of the Council's crimes. Files stolen from their own computers showing the destruction of innocent worlds. Records of billions of deaths. Proof of slavery and genocide. Monica activated another system. Data files began transmitting alongside John's speech. Military records, survey reports, and execution orders all stolen from alien computers. The evidence of the Council's crimes spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. To our fellow oppressed species, John said, you are not alone. Earth stands ready to help any world that chooses freedom over slavery. Together we can end the Council's reign of terror. Zethkri finally managed to speak. You have no idea what you have done. The Council will send 1,000 fleets to destroy your world. Let them come, John said. Earth has allies now. As if summoned by his words, new ships appeared on the tactical display. Vessels with designs unlike anything human or Council. They moved to join Earth's defensive formation. Unknown ships, please identify yourselves, Alex said over the radio. This is Captain Veltar of the Keth Resistance, came the reply. We received your message, humans. We stand with you. More ships arrived. This is Commander Yelan of the Free Traders. Earth has given us hope. We join your fight. Within minutes, dozens of alien ships had joined Earth's fleet. Species that had been hiding in the dark corners of the galaxy for decades or centuries were coming out to fight alongside humanity. Zethkri stared at the growing fleet in disbelief. This is impossible. You are all primitive species. You cannot challenge the Council. We already have, John said. Your survey fleet is surrounded and outgunned. You have two choices. Surrender and become our prisoners, or leave this system and never return. The High Arbiter looked at his tactical displays. His 12 ships faced over 100 vessels from various species. His weapons were disabled by Earth's defense grid. His shields were failing under the combined firepower pointed at his fleet. This is not over, Zethkri said. The Council will return with a force you cannot imagine. We will be ready, John replied, and we will not be alone. The alien survey fleet turned and began to retreat from Earth's solar system. As they fled, John's message continued to broadcast across the galaxy. On distant worlds, enslaved species heard Earth's call for rebellion. Some began to sabotage Council facilities. Others gathered weapons and planned uprisings. A few brave worlds sent messages back to Earth, pledging their support for the liberation movement. Alex looked at John with admiration. That was incredible. You just started a galactic revolution. John watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. No, Alex. We just gave other species the courage to start their own revolutions. The real fight is just beginning. Monica looked up from her communication station. Ambassador, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. 17 different species have pledged to join our alliance. 3 more worlds have declared independence from the Council. John smiled. For 15 years, Earth had listened in silence as the aliens planned their destruction. But silence was no longer an option. The galaxy was about to learn that freedom was contagious, and Earth intended to spread it to every corner of known space. Admiral Paul Chen stood in the war room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Giant screens showed star maps of the entire galaxy. Red dots marked enemy positions. Blue dots showed allied forces. Green dots indicated neutral worlds that might join the fight. 1 year had passed since Earth's message sparked the Galactic Rebellion. 1 year of constant war across hundreds of star systems. The Galactic Council had responded with fury and violence, but they were losing ground every day. "Admiral, we have updates from the Outer Rim," said Commander Rick Stone. Rick led Earth's special operations teams that worked behind enemy lines. His face was tired but determined. "What's the situation?" Paul asked. "The liberation of Kepler. Station was a complete success," Rick reported. "We freed over 2 million slaves and captured 3 Council supply ships. The freed prisoners are requesting transport to safe worlds." Paul nodded. Kepler Station had been one of the Council's largest slave processing centers. Taking it was a major victory for the Alliance. Dr. Sarah Kim entered the war room carrying a medical report. Sarah ran the medical corps that treated refugees from liberated worlds. She had seen the worst of what the Council did to conquered species. "Admiral, I have the casualty reports from the Vega system battle," Sarah said. Her voice was heavy with sadness. "How bad?" Paul asked. "We lost 43 ships and over 2,000 personnel," Sarah said. "But we saved an entire world." "Okay. Vegan people are free for the first time in 300 years. Paul looked at the star map. Every victory came with a price. But every liberated world meant millions of people who could live free lives. President Maria Santos appeared on the main communication screen. Maria had been elected president of Earth just 6 months ago, when the old government proved unable to handle the demands of galactic war. "Admiral Chen, I have news from the diplomatic front," Maria said. "The Andromedan Empire has agreed to join our alliance. They're sending a fleet of 800 ships." Paul felt a surge of hope. The Andromedans were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had stayed neutral during the early stages of the war, but the Council's recent attacks on civilian targets had finally pushed them to act. "That's excellent news, Madam President," Paul said. "We'll need every ship we can get." Maria's expression grew serious. "There's more news, and it's not good. Our spies report that the Council is assembling something they call the Final Fleet. Over 10,000 ships from every Council member species." Paul felt his heart sink. The Alliance had maybe 3,000 ships total. Even with the Andromedans, they would be badly outnumbered. "Where is this Final Fleet?" Paul asked. "They're gathering at the Council's main military base in the Centauri system," Maria said. "Our intelligence suggests they plan to attack Earth directly." Rick Stone looked at the star map. "If they destroy Earth, they cut the head off the rebellion. Without our coordination, the Alliance would collapse." Paul knew Rick was right. Earth had become the center of the liberation movement. Human factories produced weapons and ships for dozens of allied species. Earth's communication networks coordinated battles across the galaxy. If Earth fell, the rebellion would die. "How long do we have?" Paul asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4, Maria said. "The Final Fleet will need time to fully assemble and coordinate their attack." Sarah Kim looked worried. "Admiral, most of our fleet is scattered across the galaxy fighting liberation campaigns. We can't recall them all in time to defend Earth." Paul studied the tactical displays. Sarah was right. The Alliance fleet was spread thin across hundreds of star systems. Recalling enough ships to defend Earth would mean abandoning newly liberated worlds to Council counterattacks. "We need to make a choice," Paul said. "Defend Earth and lose the liberated worlds, or continue the liberation campaigns and risk losing our home." The room fell silent. It was an impossible decision. Either choice could mean the end of the rebellion. Commander Stone spoke first. "Admiral, what if we don't have to choose?" "What do you mean?" Paul asked. "The Council expects us to either defend Earth or continue our attacks," Rick explained. "They don't expect us to do both. What if we use that against them?" Paul was interested. "Go on." "The Final Fleet is gathering at Centauri," Rick said. "That's their main military base, but it's also their most important supply center. If we could take it out, we'd cripple their ability to wage war," Paul finished. "But attacking Centauri would require most of our fleet. We'd leave Earth defenseless." Rick smiled. "Not necessarily. What if we made it look like we were defending Earth while actually preparing to attack Centauri?" Dr. Kim understood immediately. "A deception. Make them think we're scared and pulling back to defend our home world." "Exactly," Rick said. "We Recall some ships to Earth's defense, but we position our main fleet for a surprise attack on Centauri. Paul considered the plan. It was risky, but it might be their only chance. If we fail, both Earth and Centauri remain in enemy hands. If we don't try, we lose anyway, Rick pointed out. President Santos had been listening carefully. Admiral, I support this plan, but we need to be smart about it. If we're going to attack the Council's main base, we need to make sure we can hold it afterward. Paul nodded. Madam President, can you contact our allies? We'll need every ship they can spare. Already on it, Maria said. The Andromedans are eager for a decisive battle. The Keth want revenge for their enslaved worlds. The Yelan see this as a chance to end the war quickly. Sarah Kim looked at the medical supplies report on her tablet. Admiral, if we're planning a major battle, I'll need to prepare hospital ships and medical facilities. The casualties will be enormous. Do it, Paul said. And Sarah, prepare evacuation plans for the liberated worlds. If this plan fails, the Council will take revenge on every world that supported us. Rick Stone was already working on his tactical computer. Admiral, I'm calculating fleet positions and attack routes. We can have our forces in position within 2 weeks. Paul looked at the star map one more time. The red dots representing Council forces seemed to pulse with threat, but the blue dots representing the Alliance had grown stronger over the past year, and the green dots of neutral worlds were starting to turn blue as more species joined the fight for freedom. Send the orders, Paul said. Recall the 3rd and 5th fleets to Earth's defense. Position the 1st, 2nd, and 4th fleets for the Centauri assault, and get me a direct line to every Allied commander. Over the next hour, messages flew across the galaxy. Human ships began moving toward Earth, making it look like humanity was preparing for a desperate last stand. Meanwhile, the bulk of the Alliance fleet moved secretly toward Centauri. The deception had to be perfect. Council spies were everywhere, and any mistake could expose the plan. But if it worked, the Alliance would strike a blow that could end the war. Admiral Chen looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 18 days until the final fleet was ready to attack Earth. 18 days to prepare for the most important battle in galactic history. Rick, Sarah, get some rest, Paul ordered. In 18 days, we're either going to win this war or lose everything we've fought for. As his officers left the war room, Paul remained alone with the star map. Somewhere out there, 10,000 enemy ships were preparing to destroy Earth and crush the rebellion. But Earth would not go quietly. The galaxy had learned that humans refused to surrender, and now it was time to prove that free people could defeat any tyranny. The storm was coming, but Earth was ready to face it. Secretary General Dan Cooper walked through the halls of the new Galactic Assembly building on Earth. 2 years had passed since the Battle of Centauri ended the Liberation War. 2 years since the fall of the Galactic Council and the birth of a free galaxy. The building buzzed with activity as representatives from over 200 species worked together to build a better future. Dan still found it amazing that Earth had become the center of galactic government. The same planet the Council had planned to strip for resources was now the symbol of freedom across the galaxy. Ambassador Helen White approached Dan with a concerned expression. Helen represented Earth's interests in the Outer Rim territories, where many former Council worlds were still struggling to adapt to freedom. Dan, we have a situation developing in the Rigel system, Helen said. The former Council species there are refusing to cooperate with the new local government. Dan sighed. This was becoming a common problem. Many species that had served the Council for centuries found it difficult to accept that their former slaves were now their equals. What kind of resistance are we seeing? Dan asked. They're withholding resources and blocking trade agreements, Helen explained. Some are even talking about forming their own separate government. Before Dan could respond, Admiral Grace Thompson entered the corridor. Grace commanded the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, which was responsible for maintaining order during the transition to democracy. I heard about Rigel, Grace said. My ships are standing by in case the situation gets worse. Dan shook his head. No military intervention unless absolutely necessary. We didn't fight a war to end oppression just to become oppressors ourselves. Then what do you suggest? Helen asked. Dan thought for a moment. We use the same approach that started this whole revolution. We talk to them. We show them that cooperation is better than conflict. Dr. Carl Jensen hurried toward them carrying a tablet full of reports. Carl ran the Galactic Reconstruction Commission, which helped rebuild worlds damaged by centuries of council rule. Secretary General, I have the latest statistics from the reconstruction projects, Carl said. The results are remarkable. Good news for once? Dan asked hopefully. Very good news, Carl said with a smile. Unemployment on liberated worlds has dropped by 60%. Agricultural production is up 40%. And we've established schools on over 300 worlds that never had education systems before. Dan felt a surge of pride. The numbers showed that freedom was working. Former slave worlds were prospering in ways they never could under council rule. There's more, Carl continued. The Vegan shipyards just completed their first commercial transport. The Keth have developed a new water purification system they're sharing with dozens of worlds. The spirit of cooperation is spreading. Helen looked surprised. That's incredible progress for just 2 years. Free people are creative people, Dan said. When you give them the chance to build instead of just survive, amazing things happen. A chime sounded over the building's communication system. Secretary General Cooper, please report to the assembly chamber. Emergency session beginning. Dan hurried to the main assembly chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy were gathering. The chamber was a marvel of engineering, with translation systems that allowed hundreds of different species to communicate instantly. Representative Zara of the Andromedan Empire stood at the central podium. She looked worried about something important. Fellow representatives, Zara began, we have received disturbing reports from the unexplored regions beyond the Outer Rim. Long-range scouts have detected what appears to be a massive fleet of unknown origin approaching our space. The chamber erupted in concerned voices from dozens of species. Dan felt his heart race. After 2 years of peace, was the galaxy about to face a new threat? How large is this fleet? Asked Representative Cole of the Keth Alliance. Over 5,000 ships, Zara replied. Larger than anything we've seen before. Their technology appears to be more advanced than our own. Dan stood up from his seat. Do we know their intentions? Have they responded to our communication attempts? They sent one message, Zara said. She activated the chamber's main display screen. Strange symbols appeared, followed by their translation into common galactic language. People of this galaxy, the message read, we are the hegemony. We have watched your recent conflicts with interest. Your rebellion against the Galactic Council has impressed us. We come not as conquerors, but as potential allies. We wish to meet with your leaders. The chamber fell silent. Representatives looked at each other with uncertainty and fear. Everyone remembered how the last encounter with an advanced alien civilization had nearly ended in Earth's destruction. Dan stood and walked to the podium. Fellow representatives, 2 years ago, we faced a similar situation when the Council's survey fleet arrived at Earth. We chose to meet that threat with courage and unity. I suggest we respond to this new challenge the same way. Representative Mon Veltar of the Keth spoke up. But Secretary General, this hegemony has 5,000 ships. If they're hostile, we might not be able to resist them. If they're hostile, running away won't save us, Dan replied. But if they're truly interested in alliance, this could be the beginning of something wonderful. Admiral Thompson entered the chamber and approached the podium. Secretary General, I've been analyzing the sensor data on this hegemony fleet. Their ships are definitely more advanced than ours, but there's something interesting about their formation. What do you mean? Dan asked. They're not in an attack formation, Grace explained. They're arranged for defense and communication. If they wanted to attack us, they would position their ships very differently. Representative Yelan of the Free Traders looked thoughtful. Perhaps they really do come in peace. After all, if they've been watching our conflicts, they've seen how we treat former enemies. We rebuilt council worlds instead of destroying them. Dan nodded. Exactly. Our actions over the past 2 years have shown the galaxy that Earth and our allies believe in justice, not revenge. Dr. Jensen raised his hand to speak. Secretary General, what if this is an opportunity? The hegemony might have knowledge and technology that could help us rebuild even faster. Dan looked around the chamber at representatives from hundreds of worlds. 2 years ago, most of these species had been enemies or strangers. Now they worked together as equals to build a better galaxy. I propose we send a delegation to meet with the hegemony, Dan said. We'll go with open minds but appropriate caution. We'll show them the same courage that won our freedom from the Council. The vote was unanimous. Every representative agreed to the peaceful contact mission. 3 days later, Dan stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship as it approached the hegemony fleet. The alien ships were massive and beautiful, covered in patterns of light that shifted like living art. Incoming. Transmission, reported the communication officer. The main screen showed a being unlike any they had seen before. It had features that seemed to combine aspects of many different species, as if evolution had taken a completely different path. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Assembly, the being said. I am Prime Coordinator Thane of the Hegemony. We have traveled far to meet the species that ended 10,000 years of Council oppression. Dan stepped forward. Prime Coordinator, I am Secretary General Dan Cooper, representing Earth and the Galactic Assembly. We welcome you to our space and hope for peaceful relations between our peoples. Thane's expression showed what might have been a smile. Secretary General Cooper, your species has accomplished something remarkable. You united a galaxy not through conquest, but through the simple idea that all beings deserve freedom. The hegemony would be honored to learn from you and share what we have learned in our own struggles for liberty. As the diplomatic talks began, Dan thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. It started with Jake Sullivan, listening to alien radio signals on Luna Station. It continued with Earth's brave decision to break its silence and fight for freedom. And now it was leading to friendship with beings from beyond their own galaxy. Earth's message had been simple. We were quiet but no longer. That message had freed a galaxy and was now reaching across the universe itself. The quiet planet on the edge of known space had become the voice of hope for all who dreamed of freedom. The new dawn was just beginning.